Hey guys, I hope you're having a great morning. This is going to be an extremely practical video on how to eliminate distractions in your God times. So I don't know if you guys are like me, but I am the absolute worst about being kind of squirrel when it comes to God times. I have to really discipline myself with the conditions that I surround myself with and with my daily habits and behaviors, or God time can really slip by the wayside for me. So I wanted to help you guys who may be kind of like me with some very practical tips that can help you to have that very set standard time with Jesus every day. So for me, I'm a person who, if I am having my God time past 8 o'clock a.m. in the morning, I know that it's not going to happen very well. I'm going to get distracted. People are going to start texting me, calling me, tugging on me in 1,000 different directions. You know, I've got to be at work by then, kind of a thing. And so I've got to have God time early, and not just early, but earlier for me than the people that are hanging out around me. Amen. So I had a roommate back in college, and one of the quote unquote most healthy seasons of my life with this, I felt like, was actually back then, because what I would do is I had to force myself to wake up at the crack of dawn. It was like 4 or 5 in the morning a lot of the time. Which, granted, I did not enjoy that piece. And I knew that if I did not immediately go hop in the shower the instant my feet hit the floor, I would go lay back down again. And so for me, as a discipline thing, even if I felt like I really wanted to go lounge on the couch for a while or go do something else, I knew that I didn't have the discipline to go and do that. And so I had to go and force myself to go and take a shower immediately. And so my routine was wake up before all the rest of my friends were awake, which meant I had to have discipline and go into bed on time, immediately hop in the shower, and then I would go to a separate room where I would not be disturbed with a prayer journal and with a Bible where I could just have some alone time with Jesus. And so that was my routine in the mornings. And so I also had a rule for myself that I still try to follow a lot of the times currently, just because, again, I like discipline, so I have to have really, really firm boundaries in different areas. So for me, I've had seasons of my life where I would slip into trying to have God time with my phone right beside me. Well, whenever I did that, I would feel so tempted to hop on social media or doing 5,000 things, or a text would pop up and I would feel the need to have to respond instantly, all of that stuff. And so what I do now and what I've learned over the years is my phone has to live in another room when I'm having God time. It doesn't have to be super far away, but it cannot be in the same room with me because it gets me crazy distracted. And so what I do is I will actually set a timer on my phone for like 30 minutes or however long I have that morning. Sometimes it's an hour, you know, and I will have that volume on that phone really high and leave the door open in the other room so that when it's time for me to go get ready, when it's time for me to move on to the next thing, I don't have to worry about it because my phone alarm's going to go off. And so I'm not constantly being distracted by the text messages coming through or whatever. So that is purely just time for me and Jesus to hang out, and I don't have to be worried about the time piece. So for me, that's become a very practical thing that is a necessity in my life for me in order for me to have consistent God time. So those are some tips that you guys can think about. And you may say, well, Jill, I'm a single mom, I'm a single dad, and I don't have the luxury of sitting down for 30 minutes at a time without being interrupted. A lot of you guys with young kids and toddlers, you can't even pee by yourself half the time without a kiddo trying to track you down. So for you guys, I think that God gives us grace for different seasons of our life. And I've got some recommendations there too. God time doesn't always have to look the same. If you guys have a young kiddo, load that kid up in the stroller and go for a walk and have a prayer walk with God. You know, that's such a beautiful way to get yourself separated while still making sure the kids are okay. You know, all of that to say, get creative with this stuff, you guys, and know yourself. For me personally, I know that first thing in the mornings, I need a good dose of Jesus to start the day, or else I can not start the day on the right foot. So for me, mornings before anybody else can get in touch with me is something that I have to do. But, you know, maybe you don't function exactly the same way. What I will say is there are some common themes that apply. Find a way to get it where you are not distracted. it. Set good boundaries in your life, whatever that looks like. And the main thing is be consistent with it, because those little bitty times with God, even when you don't feel anything that day per se, they add up over time. And so make sure that you are creating a disciplined space for all of that. Just like we have to create disciplined space when we go to work out, for example. We have to make time for that, right? We have to make time for eating healthy meals. You know, if you're going to truly do healthy meal prep, you've got to know which meals you're going to cook ahead of time before you hit the grocery store, so that you don't just buy everything else under the sun and you've got $100 worth of groceries and nothing you can really put together with it, right? And so every area of our life has to have discipline. And maybe you're more disciplined than I am. Maybe you don't have to have such a strict boundary and structure system around your God time like I do. But if you're like me and you get distracted easily and you're kind of squirrel, especially at the beginning, you may have to set some better boundaries for yourself to gain some consistency and to let that God time happen. Another thing that I do that has helped me immensely over the years, and some people don't like this, and that's okay, but for me, prayer journaling is a very set way for me to kind of enter into my God time, to write down my prayers and to really process with Jesus that way, because it forces me to get into that prayer mode, so that when it's time for me to speak and decree things out loud, my mind isn't going in 1,000 different directions, because I've given it time to calm down before I enter into that place. Amen. So I hope that's helpful for you guys this morning. I hope you guys have a great day. I'll talk to you soon.